Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of my creative brainchild, Failure Friday, where we talk to friends, clients, and sometimes complete strangers about how failure has shaped them as people, shaped them in their career, and how they've bounced back from it and become better. And today we have a friend slash client. She was a friend before she was a client. Her name is Ayesha Muhammad. She is a Dr. Ayesha Muhammad, CRNA, APRN, and DNP. I just learned what those acronyms mean because she sent me over the full verbiage of them. And you didn't tell me what CRNA stands for. That's Certified Registered Nurse Assistant. Is that right?
No, Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist.
Okay, not even close. And then APRN was what?
Advanced Practice Registered Nurse. Basically a nurse with an advanced degree.
And then DNP is?
Doctor of Nursing Practice.
Okay, see all those fancy things? See those fancy things, people? She also, she is a twin, and they both have found the fountain of youth, and they have told none of us where it is. So she's actually 200 years old, and but Ayesha, thank you so much for coming on. First of all, I really appreciate it. I hope to have you and your sister on at some point as well, because you guys are both incredibly inspiring, especially when it comes. I don't think I've ever met sisters that get along as well. I don't know if it's a twin thing, but they complement each other so well, and they're best friends. But let's start off and tell me how you got into your field of career. What was the moment where you were like, yeah, this is what I want to do? And what made you keep going to get all those accolades?
Initially becoming a nurse, really, I became a nurse for the job stability. I initially got my degree in biology with hopes of getting into medical school. However, I didn't make the grades. In college, I was kind of focused on track. I ran track. I was a scholarship athlete in track and field and cross country. So doing that and trying to get high enough grades to get into medical school, it wasn't happening for me. So initially, I just got my degree in biology, and then I went on to work as a associate scientist in microbiology here in Visticon. It's the company. It's a branch of Johnson & Johnson that makes the contact lenses. Anyway, they do a lot of experiments on contact lenses. So initially, I worked there. However, I worked there through a temporary agency. So my friend was a nurse, and I kind of was like, nursing is a great field. Mainly, like I said, the job security. Money was decent. Money is great now to be a nurse.
Oh, yeah.
The money was good. It was secure. So I was like, why not? So I just went, Jacksonville University offered an accelerated program. It was like 16 months, get your degree. If you already have a degree, and I already had the prerequisites from my biology degree. So I just went on ahead and applied, got my degree in, I think, 16, 17 months. And I've been a nurse for 13 years, which led me into becoming a nurse anesthetist. What's unique about me and how I became a nurse anesthetist was most people in my field, they know they want to be a nurse anesthetist before they even become a nurse. With me, that wasn't the case. I was a nurse for 13 years, and one of my coworkers just happened to be applying for school, and I was like, well, I just was nosy, like, what are you applying for? She's like, nurse anesthetist school. At that time, I didn't really know what a nurse anesthetist was. But the competitive nature in me said, well, if you're applying, if you can do it, I can do it. Honestly, I'm so competitive that if I see somebody doing something that I think I can do, or I can do better, or it's challenging, I go for it. So really, I just went for it, applied. I had, at the time, had enough. I felt like my resume resume was strong enough to get into a program, because being a nurse anesthetist, it's like the cream of the crop of nursing. It's very difficult to get in school into a program. The program is very challenging. I mean, it's literally the best of the best. So I was like, that's all you need to tell me. Best of the best of anything. I want to go for it. So I applied.
Definitely competitive.
Right. At that time, I had certifications in cardiac medicine. I had already had certifications in cardiac surgery, and I had certification in critical care nursing. So I was like, I felt like my resume was good. I had 13 years of nursing experience. 10 of those hadn't applied and got in, which was surprising me. I didn't think I would get in, but I thought I should get in, but you never know. You just, you hope people see your greatness.
You definitely had.
I had
so much experience.
Yeah, but not everybody can recognize greatness. They can't. I mean, some people, I don't know. So I applied, got in, went through the program. Very strenuous program, very stressful, very difficult, and here I am, I guess. But the title of this podcast is what? Failure Friday?
Yeah.
Is that what it's? So
it's called Failure Friday.
That part. The failure part was I had applied for nurse practitioner school at least 4 times and was denied all 4 times.
And why was that, you think?
I don't know, because I applied to JU, which is the school I got my degree in biology. It's the school I got my initial bachelor's of nursing degree. So I was like, oh, for sure I'll get in to their nurse practitioner program. Didn't get in the first time. Thought, okay, well, maybe I don't have the experience.
How long were you in the industry at this point? Is this when you're just starting out?
Right, when I had applied like 4 times.
But the first time you applied and got rejected, what was your resume at that point?
I don't think I had all the certifications, but I had probably at least had 5 years experience in the ICU.
Oh, wow.
I felt like I had an adequate enough of experience to get into the program. Like I still to this day don't understand why I didn't get in, but I'm very grateful for it. Sometimes those things that don't work out are the best for you, because I ended up in a much better place.
And what was the better where was the better program that you went to?
The better program? Well, initially I was rejected at JU 4 times, at least 4 times. I lost track. I might have been rejected more than 4 times. I don't know why I kept applying.
Because you don't want to accept defeat. That's who you are.
Right. I guess I don't know if I was in denial or I don't know why. I don't know. I wouldn't have applied 4 times for nurse anesthetist school. It was like one time, if I don't get in, I'm done. It just wasn't meant to be. But what were you asking? Oh, so I went to nurse anesthetist school at University of North Florida.
Okay. That is interesting. They don't give you a reason? If you request a reason, will they give you a reason?
I think I asked for a reason and never even got a reply. And mind you, this is a school I've been to for 2 degrees already. So I'm still kind of
butthurt about it. I'm still mad about it.
But no, I'm definitely not hurt. I felt like I went on to bigger and better things, honestly. I mean, because the nurse practitioner, that getting that degree comes a dime a dozen. I mean, there's nothing really behind it. I mean, to be a nurse anesthetist, that's a big deal especially in the nursing community. I don't know how much the general public knows about the nurse practitioner role, which most people should know, because nurse anesthetists provide a 95% of the anesthesia in the United States, period. If you go to surgery, more than likely a nurse anesthetist is putting you to sleep or your family member to sleep, or friend or whoever. So I don't know how much the general public knows about the profession, but I mean, it's a pretty big deal being a nurse.
What's the difference between a nurse anesthetist and then a anesthesiologist?
There, we do the same exact job. The nurse, in certain hospitals require a anesthesiologist to supervise the nurse anesthetist. However, and not in all hospitals, but rural hospitals, like I don't know, what's a rural place? I don't know, Baldwin. I don't know, some outside of Gainesville. Those smaller healthcare facilities do not require a supervision from an anesthesiologist. But bigger hospitals, they require supervision, and it doesn't even have to be from an anesthesiologist. It has to be from a medical doctor. But anesthesiologists are essentially trained doctors to provide anesthesia. They're required in most large institutions. However, rural institutions, it's the nurse anesthetist.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
But the anesthesiologists, of course, they're doctors, they're medical doctors. We are not. We're nurses who are trained to provide anesthesia. We don't go to medical school. We go to nurse anesthetist school. There's a difference in, I guess.
Well, yeah, but it still seems that even for the bottom line of the hospital, I'm sure the hospital has to pay the anesthesiologist more. They would just prefer, you would think, to use a nurse anesthetist, right?
Yeah, it's cheaper for the hospital system as a whole to use nurse anesthetists. That's why in hospitals, there's one anesthesiologist to 4 nurse anesthetists. So you don't have to, one nurse anesthetist don't get paid as much as anesthesiologists. So you only, to have 1 to 4, the hospital's saving money by not having to have 4 anesthesiologists. You can have 1 anesthesiologist, 4 nurse anesthetists. That's 5 people doing the same job, and you're paying one person like the premium pay, or the doctor pay, and you're paying the other 4 not as a fraction of that. So
with that being said, audience, she still makes amazing money.
Yeah, it's a great profession.
It's an amazing profession. I looked into it before we had this call, and it's actually not very common for nurses to, like you said, it's the cream of the crop. And a lot of them don't make it to where you're at because apparently the education is grueling.
Yeah, it's a grueling program. It's quite stressful. People don't make it through the program. Even going through the program, it's just you gotta have tough skin. Even in the profession, you gotta have tough skin. It's a tough profession. It's stressful. I don't think we get paid enough, honestly, for what we do. We literally have your life. Yeah, we have them. We have people's lives in our hands.
Yeah, and she works for the audience 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day. Whereas before she got this, she was working, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ayesha, it was like 12-hour days, 3 days a week, and then she had like 2 days to have a life. And it's like, yes, she's getting paid more, but she has sacrificed personal time substantially. So this is the cream of the crop for the pay, but it's also a huge adjustment. And I have a lot of nurse friends, and they do the same thing where they'll work the 12-hour shifts and then they enjoy their 2 days off. But that's not even an option for you anymore, is it?
No, it's not. And yeah, enjoy 2 to 4 days off. If you bunch them, depending on when you schedule your days to work, you have 4 days off. And that's a lot of days off. But to me, it's something to get used to. To me, I'm still not used to it. To me, I'm still trying to find a way to get back to the 3 days a week. I don't like to be at work 5 days a week.
You're not used to it. For years, you've been doing it the other way. It's quite the adjustment. So I want you to tell me one major, other than you not getting rejected by JU, which was a blessing in disguise, of course. What is another major professional or personal failure, and describe your reaction to it?
Major professional.
She's just a winner, so guys.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. I've had. I can't even. It's so many, honestly. Let's see here. In college, being a track athlete, I graduated from high school, one state, got a track scholarship to JU, which is it's an okay track. It's an okay track school. It's not great, but it was. They were offering me money. I was like, okay. So I came down to Jacksonville from Indianapolis a long, long time ago, and I lost my scholarship because I wasn't performing. I was not performing up to the, standards of the coach. So I lost my track
academically.
Actually, I got it back. Huh?
Academically or for the team?
No. From not performing in my sport.
Oh wow, they can do that.
Yeah, my coach, I wasn't performing to the what he thought I should be performing, and he took my scholarship, but I earned it back. So
how?
I mean, there's been plenty of failures. Being more consistent with. I still ran. I had to be more consistent. I improved my time. I guess he changed his mind. I'm really not sure what happened, but that was definitely a failure, a disappointment.
So how long between you losing your scholarship and you earning it back? What was the time frame there?
It was a year. I believe.
Oh, wow.
It was a year. Yeah. So.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not cool, but like that's quite the bounce back. I don't know how often people will lose their scholarship and get it back.
Right. People with a drive. People who I knew I wasn't performing up to my ability, and so I decided. So I just really worked hard. One thing about me, if you challenge me, more than likely I'm gonna try to step it up. At least do the best I can.
So that's actually really cool. So your reaction to it was not one of disappointment. You didn't go home and or maybe you did, only for a brief second, get emotional, but it motivated you.
Oh yeah. Failure motivates. I think failure is my number one motivator. There's no other motivator like failure.
Same here.
Especially, there's.
And it's because, as you know, this failure for some people brings them down and they don't get back up. For some people, it's definitely a downer. And then people like me, it's more of a, all right, I failed. Now whoever notices my failure, now I have to prove them that I can come back from this, and it becomes incredibly motivating. Were you not living up to your performance on the track fields? Is that the right word? Track field? Track? Because of academics?
Well, I wasn't living up to my performance. No, just because that just wasn't. I think one thing, coming from Indianapolis, adjusting to running in the heat was huge for me. I think that was the main thing. It was just like, it took me it took a while to get acclimated to the heat, not being a head case. It was a lot of mental challenges, because you could easily psych yourself out of things, and you get discouraged, and it really kind of hinders your performance when I think that's our brains getting in your head that
I think that's our brain's natural reaction, though, right? To protect us from failure.
Right, like maybe you should quit.
Yeah, maybe this just isn't your thing, Ayesha.
Right. But and you have to fight that. So
Especially in running. I'm not a big runner, but I know a lot of people that are, and they always say that they always tell me that running is the best way to become successful, because when you run, at some point for every single person, there's a little voice inside of you that's telling you to stop, and you have to defeat that little person. And I've never gotten to the point where I have defeated that little person when I'm running, but apparently, and like on the other side of that little voice is something called a runner's high. Is that right?
I agree. Yeah, runner's high.
Because she still runs, guys. Like, she still runs a lot. Like, well, we're gonna put up her Instagram and social media at the end of this. And I mean, you're still consistently, how often are you running in races?
I try to run in a race once a month.
And typically, how far are they?
From a 5K to a half marathon. I have not yet ran a full marathon. I plan on doing that within the next year. That's my goal.
Oh, that's gonna be intense. Where's your goal? Like, where do you want to go run it at?
Where pace wise, or
no, like the place, like location. Like, do you want to travel to? There's like huge running things everywhere.
Well, I think I like Florida during the winter. It's very nice running weather during the winter. So they have the Donna full marathon. They raise money for breast cancer, and there's also the Imaris full marathon. And those courses are very flat, so those are ideal courses. And my ultimate goal is to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So you have to hit a qualifying time.
You do?
That race. So yeah, you have to qualify. Yeah.
I didn't know that. How do you what's the time to qualify?
Well, the time varies for the different age groups. For my age group, it's 8:40 per mile for 26.2 miles. So,
holy Toledo!
3 hours and I forgot 45 minutes. I don't know, but 3+ hours. It's almost 4 hours. So that's my ultimate goal.
How long is it going to take you to train for that?
I feel like I've been training all my life, but you do have to train.
I've been training my whole life for this.
But you do have to get in some longer runs, which I don't do. Like most people run at least like 20-mile runs. I have not gotten nearly that far. So am I ready to run a marathon now? No, but you definitely have to. I would say it takes a couple months to train for a marathon.
Oh, that's not bad at all. I thought it was going to be 6 months at least.
Well, it depends on somebody like me who's been running, who stays running. It's going to take a little less time than someone who's just off the streets, who's not a runner. They might take a year. I mean,
me. She's talking about me, guys.
Yeah.
Me.
No,
Oh no, I mean it's not one of my goals, honestly, but I am just amazed at how far people can push their bodies. Like it truly is amazing to me. And another point I wanted to say that I just heard recently from one of my mom's good friends, who's an executive at Pods, those little white things you put stuff in, storage. And she played basketball, and she told my mom that companies, because she's definitely in a male-dominated position at Pods, she said that companies, when they're hiring a woman, their best bet at achieving success with that pick is if they played sports in college, because that means that they are incredibly competitive and they're loyal to their craft. So I also would wonder how much of that drive that stemmed from you being an athlete incorporated into your career. Because you said you're still very competitive.
Probably all of that drive. I mean, I think I don't separate from life. To me, it's one. I mean, I feel like they're the same. They're synonymous. Like, to me, they're so similar.
Your career and running?
Yeah. Because you get tired, you encounter disappointment. Oh my, looks like my battery's getting low. Hold on, let me go grab my charger.
I can hear you perfectly. So then let's transition to the next one. What could someone early on in their journey, and I want you to give me two answers, one for running and then one for your career. What could someone earlier on in their journey, but on the same path, learn from your experiences with failure and disappointment?
I mean, I hate to say the obvious one, but don't give up, because you will encounter disappointment.
And both.
Keep going. Where there's a will, there's a way, and I honestly believe that.
What about the academic part? Were there any tips and tricks? Any tips and tricks that you had to get you through those? Because I remember when you were in school and you were definitely stressed out.
Right. Oh, I was definitely stressed out. Academic-wise, I'm kind of everyone learns differently. And I guess the best thing is to kind of learn how you learn. Kind of figure out what works best for you. Because what works for me may not work for you. Like me, I like to read. Like most people say they're visual learners. Like me, I like to read something over and over again. Then I'll get it. Like, but some people don't like to read. Like, so some people need to see it, which I like to see it too. But reading to me helps me understand it to the best of my ability. So
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah. So. Finding what works best for you, because everyone's unique and no one's way is better. And I noticed since I like to read, I always learned a little slower because reading takes time. I never felt like I was the quickest one. I don't know if it's being in school at my old age or what, but I wasn't always the quickest to pick up on things. Like it took me a while, and I used to go home and read it over again, and then finally it's like, oh, that finally makes sense. Like, so
that was definitely me in college, and I learned that is actually a really great way to create long-term pathways in your brain. So for me to learn, like I would go to class in college and it didn't matter what we talked about in class because I wasn't absorbing it. I have to go and read the chapter myself, probably twice. Then I have to take notes on that chapter, and then I have to go and highlight my notes. And it takes me forever, but I always retained, I still can recall so much information from college because that's how I studied. I think, and don't take this the wrong way, audience, I think a lot of people study lazy now. And it's almost why I think that maybe going to college right out of high school isn't the best choice for everyone, because I think being older and wiser and more self-aware with how you retain information is crucial. Like if I could do it over, I would have got my licenses right out of high school, given it a year. It would take me a year to get my licensing, and then gone to college, because now I have an idea of what I want to do. I know the foundational information, and I know how I study because I already had to study for 2 massive licensing exams. I really think college kids today need to spend time, even your Enneagram number, like finding out how you operate and then applying that to studying, to your career, to whatever the hell you're doing. Learning about yourself before you learn about something else. So for someone who's just starting out running and their goal is to run a 5K or a 10K, how would you recommend they start? Other than just start. Like what are some, like an app that they could download, or breathing tricks? I remember you telling me that you don't run with music.
No, I don't.
Why is
Um,
that?
One, headphones are too cumbersome. I don't like things hanging off me, things that could fall off, things that could slow me down. I just um, I used to, but not often. And being a competitive runner, you'll notice the more competitive runners don't run with music. They just don't. It's like almost an amateur thing to do.
What do you listen to?
Like
What do you think
you
about?
don't see. You think about life. You think about how grateful you are to be out there running. I mean, honestly,
Really?
uh, yeah.
That's like kind of poetic. It's almost.
It that's. I think running really helps me. That's when I really am mindful of everything that I'm grateful for when I run. Just
Huh.
just to have the health to be able to run. And I've never taken that for granted.
Would you recommend someone just starting out to not use headphones?
No, I would recommend whatever keeps you going, you do that. I mean, because there's some good runners who run in headphones. I would whatever keeps you going, do that. Whatever gets that blood flowing, whatever works.
How important? Yeah, but I think there's some things that should work for everyone, like form. Like how long? Well, you had form in college. How important is form for long distance running?
Very important, but everyone has a different running style. You're not going to run how I run. I think it's optimizing your form is key. You know, when I say that, it's we're talking like your cadence. You know how quickly you hit the pavement, things like that. Your arms. You know, pumping your arms, your positioning of your arms when you're running to get the optimal power from your arms. Just optimizing what you have. And I'm not a running gait expert, and but I think there's an optimal form for you depending on how you naturally run, how you naturally walk, how you naturally move.
How often do you run during the week?
During the week, 4 days a week.
Okay. Wow,
and it's quite challenging. It's not easy trying to run, and with these days getting shorter, it's very difficult to. I mean, it's 5 o'clock. It starts at 5 o'clock. I get off at 5 o'clock on certain days, and so it's very difficult to run with these hours, with the time change.
Do you ever run in the morning?
It's dark already. I do, but I work. I have to get up as early as 4 o'clock some days, depending on what time the surgery starts, the case starts. So I just get it. I get it in when I can. Sometimes I'll bring my work clothes or my running clothes to work and run literally at work. I'll change in the car and run. I'll find a course near my job because you don't have the daylight, so you don't even have time to drive home. So I'll run at my job. Imagine you bringing your gym clothes and then going to run after work, and it's difficult because I'm working 10 hours a day on my feet, and then I'm trying to get out there and run. Right?
Oh, I bet. I personally, as I've gotten older, realize that I can't work out in the evening. It has to be in the morning. If I don't work out in the morning, I'm just not. I don't perform as well at night. It's like my brain's already fatigued.
Agreed. I don't run nearly. It's almost a minute to 2 minute difference per mile with what I can do fresh in the morning versus after working all day. I mean, it's no comparison.
Oh wow! So in the morning, you're significantly faster.
Oh yeah, I'm a different person. After work, terrible. I mean, for instance, in the morning, I can run 4 miles, 8 minute pace. That's a decent pace. It's not great, but it's decent. After work, I'm struggling to run 9.5 minute pace. That's a minute and a half difference. It's a big difference. You're tired. you just want to get it over with. In the morning, you're fresh. It's a significant difference.
Do you feel like your performance at work suffers when you don't get your runs in, your 4 days a week runs in? Like, how much control does your running have over your psyche, your mental presence in your career?
I think I would say the other way around. My work has more of a influence on my running. For instance, if I'm really stressed out from work, it really affects my running. It really does. Or if I just really had a busy day, it really affects my running. Now, I guess I've never went without running, so I don't really know how it affects me to not run, because I just have not.
You've never taken a significant amount of time off from running, ever?
I did. I think I took almost a month off just recently because of my foot.
Mm-hmm.
I injured my foot, but never. No, I've ran pretty much my whole entire life. So I think to not be able to run would probably be devastating for me. That's why I'm so grateful for every day. Getting older, I'm definitely more injury prone. Like, the things I used to be able to do, I just can't even do anymore. I really have to kind of cut back on my miles. Another thing for someone who's starting out running, gradual. Do not try to gradual. Like, for instance, try running a mile, for a couple weeks, and then add another mile. Do everything gradual. That helps you avoid injury.
Do you think 4 days a week is a substantial amount of time to start building that endurance? Or should someone just starting out do 5 or 6?
I think 4 days a week is a good starting point. When I was competitive, in college, of course we ran 6 days a week. You have at least one rest day. But the older I get, every other day is great for me. So that gets me to about 4 days a week. And I feel like I've maintained my fitness pretty well.
You definitely have. Believe me. Well, you and your sister are ridiculously, you look like you're 20 years old, and it's annoying.
Yeah, right. I'm not as fast as I used to be. I'm not. You definitely, when you get older, you definitely you don't have the capabilities you used to have. I hate to admit it. But... It
doesn't feel like you're slowing down, though, from an outsider looking in, but...
Right.
Okay, so then that was your running advice, but as far as nursing, what do you recommend for someone who's just now getting into, hey, I graduated high school, or hey, I just got my bachelor's degree? What piece of useful information that they can use to apply to their situation can you give?
Like I said, don't give up. You will be rejected. Everybody wants to be a nurse. Everybody does. Schools are, you have 400 or 500 applicants for instance, for Nurse Anesthetist school, we have 30 spots.
Oh my gosh.
We have up to 400 applicants from all around the country. Nursing is just as competitive now. People want to get into the nursing field. It's a good field, good money nowadays. But like I said, don't give up, because you will encounter failure. You will encounter rejection. You will, even being an African American woman, you will encounter microaggression at times.
Sure.
There's a lot to deal with.
Can you give me an example of some of those microaggressions?
Microaggression?
Yeah, can you give me an example of some? Because that's a very real thing that could happen.
Just being treated differently. I'm trying to think of an example, because I feel like I dealt with that a lot in school, especially in nurse anesthetist school.
What was the ratio in nurse anesthetist school?
I think less African American is less than 1%.
Oh, wow.
Nurse anesthetists are African American. I think it's less than 1%. I have to look up, but it's I had the statistics, but I can't find them anymore. But it was a lot to deal with. It really was. To be black in this field, you have to be excellent. And that's what my mom always taught me. To be black, you have to be excellent, because they're not looking at, you're not on even playing field. You're not looked at as equal. And I hate to say this, it's.
No, you don't hate to say it. This is what people need to talk about, because that's a real thing that people are going to experience that are maybe watching this and are like, okay, now I know to expect that. Because I'm sure as a black woman or a black man in general, you don't just experience that in college, you experience it your whole life.
Your whole life. And especially in my field, it's male dominated. I like most fields are male dominated, Caucasian. I feel like I'm always having to prove myself, almost on a daily basis, and it's always in the back of my mind, like, okay, what are these people thinking? It's quite taxing at times, because you never really can relax. You always know you have to be on your A game. Your mistakes are magnified. You feel like, that's how I feel. And I always used to wonder, I'm like, is this real, what I'm feeling? Is this?
Well, it's real because you're feeling it.
Right.
Right?
But is it real? Because I always tried to.
This is a conversation I have a lot with people, both non-black and black. And a lot of them talk about these microaggressions, and I have to explain that as a white person, if I do something wrong and it's perceived as wrong, it doesn't matter what my intentions were. It imagines how you felt about them, because anything you feel is your reality. That's a correct perception that you have. It might not be the same perception I have. So, and I think, and my business partner goes through the same thing, and we have a very casual office. Like, it's not super fancy. It's a functional family boutique office, but he wears a suit every single day. And for the first year, I dress like who I'm going to be meeting with is going to dress. I wear jeans. I might wear heels. I might not. He wears a damn suit every day. And I finally was like, why do you wear a suit? He goes, because I'm black and I have to step my game up a little bit higher, because I feel like whenever someone comes in to meet with me, they're looking for an excuse not to use me. So it's kind of the same thing.
It's real.
It doesn't matter if it's true. It's how it feels.
Yeah. I know it. It's a real thing.
So I wouldn't call that failure, though, but I would say that that's a constant. It's probably quite disappointing.
You're going to encounter.
You're going to encounter it.
You are going to encounter it.
So then what do you do? What do you do when someone's microaggressively to you? How do you cope with it? How do you react to it?
I use it as motivation. To get better, to do better, to improve, to sharpen my game, to stay on my A game. But
so then you're hyper aware.
To be honest with you, and being hyper aware, honestly, it's tiresome. You don't want to feel like that every single day you go into your job. At some point, you want to enter into a comfort zone. And granted, I'm still fairly new into my profession, so at some point, maybe I will get into that comfort zone. But right now, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just a perfectionist. Or I want to be a perfectionist. To be honest with you, there's no such thing as perfection, especially in the medical field. You're going to encounter failure. People will die. You will make mistakes. You will make serious mistakes. That's just the bottom line. in my
Yes,
field.
especially like right now.
And that's, yep.
Especially right now. So we've talked about a lot of different things, but in what ways has failure positively shaped your behaviors or character, your psychology today? And I would use your career as an example. In what way has microaggressions or you being rejected, how has that changed the way you approach issues today?
One, it's definitely made me hyper aware of things that I need to improve on. It's provided motivation to be a better provider. I mean, mainly failure has just to be a better professional.
Do you keep track of what you need to improve on? And what are some of those things that you need to improve on?
Do I keep track? Oh, yes. I definitely keep track. I'd say main thing is just kind of demonstrating confidence. Like, I know my job. I know what I'm doing. But I'm kind of shy. I really don't like to be seen. I'd rather just kind of do my job. I'm not a social person, especially at work. I'm not. I'd rather be visible. I want to be one of the people you like, oh, she works here? Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
like
she walks around sometimes.
Just in my field, I just being more social, kind of bringing more of an aggressive. Because me,
So you want to be more social? Is that what I'm
No, I think I need to be. I think I need to come across more confident and more assertive. Let's just say assertive.
So would you say that having a community within your workplace is important and that's where you can improve on?
Having a what?
More of a community, more colleagues that you can, vent to, bounce ideas off of. Is that important to you? Because in my career, it definitely is. Having a community where I can ask questions, people that have been there longer than me or have been doing this longer than me. To me, that has made me way better at my job. Do you have that, or should you have that in your career path?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. But I think the main thing when you say community is I don't need a lot of people, but I need people I can trust. Because some of the questions, sometimes you have dumb questions.
Yeah.
And you can't, some questions you can't bring to just anybody. You want to bring it to somebody wise, but somebody who you can trust. Because you ask somebody a silly question or have a concern that, I don't know, have a
That's
concern
a
that you have to have people you can trust it's like having a mentor. Like you need I agree, you do need a mentor. You do need somebody to bounce off ideas, but that's somebody has to be trustworthy. Because I noticed in my profession, people like to talk. People like to put you in a box. People like to, oh, she's not this enough, or oh, she's not that enough. They like to put you there and keep you there. I think that kind of protects their ego, to put you in some type of place where you can't get out of, just to protect their ego. And I kind of had to, I kind of discovered that, like, maybe it isn't so much me, maybe it's you trying to protect your ego is why you know, in my profession, just people like to label people, especially in school. You're labeled as, I don't know, not aggressive enough, not assertive enough, too slow, this, that, those, you'll encounter that a lot.
Yeah, and I think that a way you could kind of change, it's always going to be there, right? You can't avoid it not being there. But it's human nature, right, for us to organize and categorize it. We almost need it to make sense, because that's how we process experiences. Humans are really bad at saying, I don't know, and maybe I'm not supposed to know. We have to find an answer or put a label on everything, because that's the only way we can move on to the next task. I think a lot of people are like that. I think it takes an intelligent person, an empath, to have that first thought, but then have a second thought that's like, I'm probably projecting, or I don't know what's going on in their life, or maybe I'm overthinking this. And that's one thing that I would say that I've gotten better on in the last several years is when someone pisses me off, of course you're going to have that angry reaction or the insecure reaction, and you're going to think of all the different things you could have said that would have really stuck it to them. But then I've gotten really good at taking a step back and being like, well, maybe they said this because they're insecure about that characteristic of themselves, so they need to project it onto someone else because they're not ready to deal with that within their own life. So I think that, do you have colleagues that you could trust if you just put a little bit more juice into that relationship?
Oh yeah. I have two friends in particular. I actually graduated with two people who both work where I work, so I'm always talking to them, even though they're the same experience level. Sometimes they'll know things. Sometimes they'll remember things that I don't remember, or have read something that I haven't read, or things like that to where I can always talk to them and ask them questions.
Yeah, I think that's really important. If people wanted to reach out to you and ask you for advice, either whether it's running or the medical field, how would you prefer that they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, either one.
Perfect. And I will have Weston post that, your Instagram and your Facebook. And thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. And you're the first medical professional that I've had, and it's such a booming career right now. I feel like I know so many people trying to get into nursing school or who are nurses, because they think a lot of people, I think, get into it for the wrong reasons.
Uh-huh.
But for you to have been in it, you and your sister to have been in it for so long.
I probably got into it for the wrong reasons too. Money, security.
Do you enjoy it though? Honestly?
Some days.
Some days.
I'm so serious that it's some days it's a serious field. So some days I try to enjoy it. I need to work on that.
Yeah. Do you think the trajectory of your job will change much over the next 10 to 15 years, or is it pretty stagnant? Like how often for example, my job, the stock market, economics, everything's constantly changing. So my job looks completely different year to year. Is your job like that, or is it pretty much stability all the way through? Like, this is what I'm going to do. And if you wanted to have more upward mobility in your career, what would be the next step?
Well, I think that the ultimate goal of the nurse, the CRNA and the CRNA profession is to ultimately not have to have supervision from a physician.
Okay,
in
that's
any facility. Like we don't need an anesthesiologist to do our job, to supervise our job. I think that's the ultimate trajectory of the field. Is and just expanding what we're able to do in the hospital, which is most things related to anesthesia, but mainly the supervision, eliminating the supervision is.
And do you have the capability to do that, or do you think that eventually that might go away?
It's something that it's political, so it's kind of, the more nurse anesthetists get involved in the politics of things. These are state laws. These are national laws. So the more power we have in legislative, whatever word it is,
You're fine.
the more we need more power to gain. But yeah, it's possible, because there are places where physician supervision is not required, and the ultimate goal is to not require supervision anywhere, where nurse anesthetists can work independently in any facility. But the medical profession is way too powerful. That's what we're up against.
It just seems like it helps their bottom line, though.
It helps the hospital's bottom line. It does not help the anesthesiologist line. They need their jobs too. But it's for the hospitals and the healthcare provider facilities. Absolutely, it's cheaper. It's just, personally, I don't mind the supervision of an anesthesiologist. I feel like it's a good thing for patient safety, and that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
So it's just another person who is qualified to do your job, who has a higher level of education. So I see no problem with the anesthesiologist. I feel like there's enough room for both, but the ultimate goal of the nurse anesthetist is to not be supervised.
Do you think you'll ever go back to medical school and become an anesthesiologist?
No. I'm 43 years old. What do I look like? I'm trying to
get out,
travel, and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm not trying to go back to school ever again.
She's PTSD, guys.
Yeah, I'm with school. I will do what it takes to maintain my, professional certifications and, that, lifelong learning. But going back to school, never.
I think that's fine. I think I've watched your journey. I watched you walk across the stage, and I'm personally very proud of you. Proud of where you're at. Now it's just Ashton's turn.
She's enjoying she's living her best life, not being a student. I don't think she wants to go back to school, and I don't even recommend it, honestly.
It took up a
lot of money. There's no reason for her to go back to school. For what?
For what? Yeah, you're like, nah.
Maybe it's my PTSD. You're right, but
yeah, that was rough for you. I will definitely. There was a few times I saw you when you were in school, and you were definitely not the Ayesha that you were before school.
No, I wasn't.
I've never seen you in a bonnet so much in my entire life.
Right, stressed out. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for opening up a portal into your personal life and your professional life. And audience, I'm going to put up her contact information. She's a wealth of information. She will answer when she has time any question that you have, whether it's about running or whether it's about nursing. She's got you. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Failure Friday. And I hope you guys all have a blessed week.